Hello, 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 and welcome back to the Awakening Philosophy Podcast. My name is Jed. We are at an interesting point of the text. Now, a little bit of a disclaimer for those who watch these videos as soon as they are made. This one will replace the previous one. I tried to explore an idea when I was super tired after a big night of music and other things. I just needed to stream. I wanted to explore these ideas that we've been exploring, and I kind of got nowhere and spoke in circles. And so I'll do a quick review of the things we did cover, and we'll continue to move forward in this book. So, yeah, getting rid of that last video. That was a bit of a mess. We are in a point of the text where Socrates is responding to Jesus in a different kind of a way than he has before. Up until now, we've been following the dialogue. We've been looking for the structure behind Socrates' own thought. That's part of reading, not just listening to what the character says, but understanding the structure behind his own thought. Because we've discovered that structure is the dialectic. The dialectic is the structure of reality called the logos. And mastering the art of the dialectic is our purpose as human beings. It's also how we hold decent conversations that benefit people. Now, speaking of benefit, we have been tracking what ideas or what conversations, what aspects of this conversation has been benefiting Jesus. We've been looking at what moments of the conversation he's been blocked from the logos, blocked from the reasoning of the dialogue, or blocked from his conclusions, or finding some ideas over his head. And therefore, we could go back through the text again and pull out all of those kinds of blocks and create a list of ways blocks manifest. Socrates has pointed out to us that our purpose, or one of our tasks that he's assigned to us is, is to create a map that complements the hypotheses of Parmenides for our blocks. So the hypotheses of the Parmenides is that dialectic applied to one of the most important, significant things ever, a map of the development of the soul, or a map of all possible worldviews that can exist. A map that is ordered and structured in a hierarchical way that shows for, that allows for an understanding of a development through those ways of understanding. And they're not only ways of understanding, they come along with states of mind. And of course, if you're stuck on that level, an identity. We've seen that is the triad of the self. There is some self that we are seeking, that we experience as a state of mind, which means that the self isn't itself an experience, it's the seer, it's the experiencer, but it's experienced through a state of mind. And those two are kinds of wholes, the whole of the self, the whole of your state of mind, that can function in relation to parts functioning. Self, mind, functioning. We've been looking at the fact that the ideal of those three things are the first three hypotheses of Parmenides. The one self, the highest state of mind is divine luminosity, the whole of everything in time, or the paradigm, the map of reality, of the unfolding of evolution. Peak experience, Socrates called it recently. And the functioning, our ideal functioning, is of course the dialectic, which is the functioning of understanding, which is the art of the logos, which is the third hypothesis. We've been excuse me, more coffee. I played music for a long time last night. So self, mind, and functioning, or self, mind, and dialectic. Now, we've also recognized that there is one thing that's in each of those. The dialectic is the art of the logos that is used to benefit. The benefit has two sides: the perfection of the logos of others. So it's not like the systems of oppression, capitalism, conservatism, religion, kings, was it capitalists, kings and clergy, in which they always stay different. The oppressing class, the Epstein class, always stands apart. They don't have to follow the laws, they don't have to pay taxes, etc. And they murder and abuse everybody else. That's the nature of human problems. But as a dialectician, you benefit someone in a way that makes them like you. The more we participate in midwifery and the dialectic to remove our problems and perfect our excellence, the more we become like that very dialectician who's been helping us along the way. which is the same as how we are understanding our reading. The better we understand Socrates, the better we become like Socrates ourselves. Which is why we're trying to understand not only what he's saying, but how he's saying, his structure. Now, what we've also been learning is the highest expression of philosophy is the application of that dialectic process, that reading in a way that you're reading without interpretation. You're reading by applying the dialectic to it in a way that makes you like the author. Applying those two things to your, lots of balloons, to your dreams. The dreams is a kind of text that's personally relevant to you, that you can practice your reading on, you can practice your dialectic on, and is the greatest starting point for a dialectic with your friends. Gives you the material to reflect on. So, the perfection of your reading, the perfection of your dialectic art, the perfection of your dream analysis, philosophy, or the dialectic applied to mastery of the logos to seek the truth. That manifests as the logos of functioning, the dialectic, the logos of mind, not just having those peak experiences, but integrating them through understanding as well, logos, seeing the intelligibility of that state of mind, which is theology, by the way. Theology is the study of the aspects of that peak experience of mind. And its mnemonic device, representing them through personification, that's mythology. To return to the self with those two things in your back pocket, with your memories of that peak experience, self seeing itself in the mirror, you could say, as self reflects itself into mind, and understanding, so that when you return to self, you can recognize it, you can understand it, even when it transcends experience. So that's one aspect of the dialectic, our perfection of that triad of self, the logos triad, but also the purification of its opposite, or its distortion, the pathologos triad. What we've been also learning as we've been reading is the nature of human problems is that same structure, those same relationships, but with different terms. We are carrying a false image of ourselves. That is the main character in your daydreams about yourself, in your fantasies about yourself, in as you plan about what you're going to do in the day, there's a character that you think is you. Your dreams star that character as well. There's your self at the top. The next part of that triangle, you experience that through the states of mind that you live through. And finally, that causes your functioning. Only these things are defined by the pathologos. The pathologos false image of the self, your pathologos negative states of mind that block your development, that manifest as your pathologos functioning through belief and interpretation. Interpretation is the opposite of reading or dialectic. It's the opposite of understanding / reading / dialectic. It's interpretation, adding what isn't there or leaving out what is. And instead of seeking the truth through reasoned reflection, confirmed in experience of the dialectic together in a friendly way that benefits the dialectic, we have its opposite, debate, to find ways of proving or justifying your own beliefs you already carry, that you are already convinced and you're certain are true. You're afraid of change, or you think you benefit from this current system, your system of belief, defending what you already carry in belief and justifying your own negative way of being from those false beliefs. Debate would be a way of functioning in the pathologos triad of the self, which is the nature of human problems. Now, that means that there are two aspects to our soul's development: a purification of that negative triad to free us up to see new truth, experience new truth, integrate new truth. The hypotheses of Parmenides would be a map of new truth. What are all of the stages of improving or anagogic, upward moving is what anagogic means, levels of understanding and insight? But what we're finding is, with the introduction of every new truth or insight or understanding, comes a kind of counter attack from what we are carrying that's false. Otherwise, we would have had Socrates, and then we would have just continued developing from him. As a counterattack to Socrates, we have the Dark Ages. Our current age is a counterattack to the Logos, because our ruling classes, those that murdered Socrates, are defined by pathologos belief. The right-wing or conservative class are all those who venerate or make universal their own personal ignorance by making it law or seeking power over others. Instead of doing their purpose, what they're literally born here to do, awaken ousia, self-reflection, with understanding, ousia and logos, and solve their puzzles. They inflict their injustice upon others with impunity. The Epstein class, conservatives, capitalists, and clergy. Religion is the same thing, the veneration of personal beliefs, instead of development of understanding to seek truth that benefits all. And whether you're a conservative or a religious authority figure, they all play the same game of pretending to be knowers. Our soul seeks that state of actually knowing the good and actually knowing what benefits. But instead of doing what you need to do, they are cowards who instead want to pretend to be knowers when actually just playing out their ignorant beliefs they inherited from childhood. They learned from childhood. It isn't just an inheriting, they came to those conclusions themselves. Not a blame game, it's an understanding game. Capitalism is the same. So we need to develop a map to understand all of the possible ways we could interpret. That's what Socrates is asking us to do. find a map of interpretation that can be used along with the map of understanding to give a complete map of the development of souls. Now, lots of fun, lots of interestingness. We have been, what we can do is go through the text again and have a look at all of the times Jesus was, hey, welcome, Sus. Emma has to say to you,
making ice cream is a good and courageous thing.
Making ice cream is good and courageous as it is being lurking on this channel. Thanks for hanging out. And the Oracle says,
people don't know. You're not the one that's mentally unwell. You're brave. You are crossing into new boundaries.
By being here, you're brave and crossing into new boundaries. That's good. That's a good thing. Gooner. Ooh, and you're a gooner, apparently. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. So, all of the ways that Jesus has been blocked, we could go through and create its own map. For instance, we've seen several times Socrates talking about an idea that seems to go beyond Jesus's level. Jesus likes to talk about the second hypothesis. This is the significance of having a map. We could say, oh, he experienced the transfiguration experience using his language. We could talk about it as divine luminosity in the quality of the experience. We could talk about it as eternal bliss in its feeling. I sneezed. But having the map allows us to point to it by definition, second hypothesis. Now we've also got an accompanying map of the 10 ox-herding pictures of Buddhism to say, oh yeah, this is what the ox-herding pictures would call it. Because that talks about the development from a glimpse, third ox-herding picture of that, through the stages of development and integration or spiritual development as a result of that glimpse, to full integration and functioning through it, and then ultimately transcending that, which is the penultimate experience, because it's the second last experience, to an even higher spiritual state, that of the self. So the peak experience of mind, the second part of that triangle of self, the state of mind, the second hypothesis. Now, when Socrates talks about the first hypothesis, the self, Jesus has been struggling through the text. But something strange has happened right here at the end of the book. For all of the time, something might have gone over Jesus's head, or he might not have understood it, or he might have misinterpreted something. Jesus seems to be trying his best to follow the reason, come to a conclusion, push the implications of that conclusion, carry that conclusion to the next stage through sharing his highest vision and his highest understanding. My nose is itchy. Wait. But what we are finding now is a different response to that challenge. Socrates gave us a heads up. He said, I'm going to say something right now, says Socrates. I'm going to say something that I'm usually very hesitant to say because it's often met with scorn. And so we had a question, excuse me, why would he be met with scorn? Socrates is doing good. He's kind and not polite, but good, helpful. He's not a liar. He's not a scam. He's not a grifter. Why would you react with scorn to something a philosopher says? And then he goes on to say, and only those who are at the highest level of intelligence will be able to accept this. Why? Is it going to use technical language? No. Socrates doesn't do that. He tries to use a language that you can understand. That's what metaphor is helpful for. Analogies. And then he goes ahead and shares it. As above, so below. And it seems like Jesus isn't at that highest level of intelligence because he didn't like that. And Jesus's response is different to all of the prior responses he's had to the conversation so far. The way in which he was blocked from that conversation, the reflection on the idea of as above, so below, was different. The nature of his pathologos block to the logos was expressed differently than before. So we could put this as one of the ways human beings block themselves. It wasn't that he wasn't seeing what is there, or he wasn't putting the pieces together. It's that the previous conclusions he has come to, he threw away. He's already seen how philosophers understand the gods as a personification, as a metaphor for the principles of mind and self, and the soul, mind and self, the soul's movement through higher states of mind into the peak experience, and through that to the self, which is the first cause and our final cause, our purpose. That's what theology is. That's what they mean when they talk about the gods. We've already seen this. We've already gone through this. We've already compared it to human problems. What would make you a savage, ignorant zombie is if you take it literally. Oh yes, there is a guy in the sky called Apollo who has a bow and arrow and will shoot you if you don't praise him. Religion, taking it literally. He's already seen this. What it is and what it isn't. He throws it all away. Not only does he throw away his understanding, he goes into a different state of mind. That's what we look for as human beings. That's our realm. Basketball players function in the realm of three-pointers and slam dunks. Gamers function in the realm of frags and fragging and flashbangs and mollies. See, I'm a gamer, sort of. I'm aware of gaming. Human beings, or philosophers, the true role of human beings is in the realm of states of mind and understanding. Notice, they're not physical. They rule over the physical world. Those peak experiences are the intelligence that transcends the physical world as its cause, the creator, also the paradigm. And of course, the cause of that is a kind of state of mind of self that transcends even that. The God and the gods, self and the aspects of intelligence. And understanding, because understanding is the functioning of the logos as it unfolds and as we return. It's the functioning of the soul in the return. It's our method of learning. It's how we solve problems. It's the spiritual method. It's the one subject to rule all subjects. It's the one ring of education, the love of understanding, philodianoia. Philo, love, dianoia, the understanding that we are talking about here. It's not physical. So, we can use the maps that we've been developing in this highest art, that's our purpose as human beings, to recognize how is Jesus' understanding functioning? And the answer, he's rejecting his understanding that he's come to. He's rejecting the conclusions they've already come to. And how is his state of mind? Hypotheses, box setting pictures. Now, even within the hypotheses, you can see the states of mind in there. The ox herding pictures just pulls it out a little bit more, talks about how the world seems, how the person hunting to catch the ox and tame the ox sees the mountains, sees the valleys, sees the rivers, sees the grass, how he relates to the ox, how he relates to his methodology, taming the ox, etc., etc. How he relates to the village children and the rustic woodsman. So it expands out that state of mind a little bit. And Jesus' state of mind is very different. Now, I often use as an analogy, happened last night, happens most nights. The idea that there are two fundamental states of mind of people that relate to my music. One is open and curious, which is good. It's very endearing. It's very fun to be around. Everyone has a good time when people are in that state of mind. And another one is one of certainty, which is closed. Those people are dicks. They think whatever they're carrying is better than whatever is happening in front of them. By the way, that's how Socrates defined interpretation. Jesus defined it as adding what is there or leaving out what is there or adding what isn't. But Socrates talked about the reason. The reason was we think that the work that we are relating to isn't adequate, isn't good enough. We have to fix it. We have to add stuff that isn't there. Or there are stuff that shouldn't be there. Which is why we read the books that we read in this channel, because they are works that reflect the Logos. We don't have to add stuff. In fact, because they are written by masters of the Logos, Socrates and Pierre Grimes, anytime we do feel the need to add, we can take that as a clue about our own pathologos problems we're carrying. So they need to add their state of mind. I'm just thinking about what happened last night. Now, fortunately, most of last night was people in the good state of mind. But there were some people who come in with that negative state of mind. I know better. It's all about them. They want to play the guitar. They know the song better than me. They can tune the guitar better than my phone can. That kind of crap. Very negative. Sometimes people are not even relating to music at all. There was one young lady who decided that she would try and fight everyone. Her friend was enjoying the music, and because it wasn't focused on her pathologos, she tried to pretend that people were hitting on her friend, when obviously nobody was, as a justification to play out her violence, because she is motivated not by the logos unfolding through music, but by her pathologos belief of what it means to be knowing. That's the nature of all human problems. We want to do the injustice we suffered to others as a mark of knowing, because the alternative is waking up to reflection and removing your false images about your loved ones. And that requires courage and character, as Keegan Tegan said.
This guy had to admit that the people in his life who helped convince him to be a conservative in the first place, parents, clergy, other authority figures, were wrong. Not only was wrong, but lied to him, and that he fell for it. All of that takes so much courage and character.
It is the most challenging thing. We want to hold on to our images of beauty because our soul is programmed in a certain way that when we do experience beauty as the second hypothesis, divine luminosity, we are supposed to hold on to that. Because it's our paradigm of beauty, it's our paradigm of justice, it's our paradigm for how we live as human beings politically and in relation to our planet, in relation to us and our planet. It's our paradigm that we use in the dialectic. Excuse me. Our soul is programmed to hold on to that so much that the false appearance in childhood of beauty we hold on to and we don't want to challenge. Therefore, this young lady who could be open to a higher way of being, a way of relating to the logos, the harmony and order of reality, expressed through music, that can bring people into an open, curious state of mind that we might call a mind receptive to luminosity or insight, or we might even recognize that openness and wonder as an even higher state of the first hypothesis, potentially. Instead of participating in that way, she's fighting everyone, trying to make it all about her, as a way of creating the conditions to justify her negative way of being. Sometimes that's called problem, reaction, solution. The Israelis create a problem. They orchestrate the 10th of October attack. So they can say, oh look, there was this problem. Now we have to offer the solution by doing a genocide and killing everyone and taking all of the land for our personal private gain. 9/11, same thing. Entering the Vietnam War, same thing. Sometimes it's called a false flag. You create the problem. Marketing, same thing. It's everything under pathologos. Capitalism. You are not beautiful. That's okay. I've convinced you you're not beautiful through these advertisements and TV shows. But I can offer you the solution. Buy my makeups. Conservatism. We are going to gut all of the community services. So your reaction is, hey, these government services aren't working. And our solution to the problem we created, to the reaction that we created, is, well, I guess we should privatize it all. So there's no hope for humanity. It's all just exploitation for personal gain. That's the right wing, conservatism. And capitalism. And religion. You need us. Why? No, you just need to give us all your money. Why? You need to just kill who we want you to kill. Why? We just need you to oppress all women forever. Why? Oh, because you're a sinner? Says who? Says me? So wait a minute. You're telling me I'm a sinner and I will go to hell. You want me to believe you, and the solution is giving you all of the wealth and power and letting you abuse humanity and our planet. Problem, reaction, solution. Debate. Finding ways to validate and justify the false beliefs and way of being. Notice, it's both. It's both the hypotheses and the oxherding pictures. It's both your way of thinking, which for them is belief, and it's their way of being, and for them it's, well, sadism. The Epstein class we call capitalists, conservatives, and clergy now. Yep. That's what they do. Oh, spammer.
Robots will replace that, and that's terrifying.
Speaking of capitalism.
But you shut up. You shut the hell up for a second. You're not real.
All right, so what was interesting about last night was some people came in with the good state, state A. Some people, and I guess the purpose was to maintain and go into that further. Some people came in state B, but were able to move from B to A. There was a group of young lads who came over, who were being led by some what's the word? Not crackhead. Thuggish idiot, egotist. And they brought that energy, which is what? Egotist, a word talking about your veneration of your image of yourself. But they were able to transition. Took a while. Took their old leader leaving, which is an interesting insight. After their old leader left, they were slowly able to progress into the good state. And of course, there were some people like that lady I mentioned who was so firmly attached into her, by the way, sadistic. She knew she was lying, she knew she was being bad, but she didn't care. She liked it. That's the nature of the Epstein class's problems, all human problems, when we're in them. Alright, so Jesus seems to have transitioned into that B state of mind. Certainty. He's preaching, he's telling, this is what's going to happen. You think this, Socrates, and I think this. And these are the conclusions. We are always going to be in conflict. We're never going to come together. Religious shit, fighting shit, violent shit. The nature of human problems. You're different than your beliefs are different than my beliefs. We can never come together. Mine are better. By the way, I identify with that group. There are the Pharisees, the Ulysses, and there's us, the Zealots, a different family clan, a tribe, and we are the ones that are the right ones about God, and our way of being is right, and we will always be in conflict, and you are a jerk. That shift in state of mind we need to recognize as human beings. Because they're in their problem state. They're blocked. Now, when Jesus makes that transition, we can see it in his understanding, rejecting the conclusions he's already come to. We might say he's lying, or he's just completely blind with ignorance. And his state of mind, his way of being, he's being a dick now. To that we say,
You're a little bitch ass baby.
he's being a little bitch ass baby now. Right?
Anything for a click, no matter how stupid or demented or misleading.
Oh my goodness. Not me.
From the ground efforts started with a lot of people that didn't feel like they could do anything about it, but they tried anyways.
That's right. Right, we try anyway. What? I forgot. What did Socrates do when Jesus went into dick mode? Well, up until now, Jesus has been having some success, some failures, something over his head, but he seems to be doing it in good faith. Now, probably we need a better expression than in good faith, considering it takes the use of the word faith, which is a terrible idea, to accept upon belief what is disproven by evidence or cannot be proved by evidence, which of course is the manifestation of our human pathologos problems. But he seems to be genuine. Now he's being a dick. Up until now, Socrates has been, and I know this because I've been doing his voice. So often through the text, Socrates has been saying, "Yes, Jesus." He says yes and then continues. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, and they're all Socrates. See, Socrates. Actually, let's put Socrates. And then let's find this. Okay, maybe it's. Okay, I'm just gonna look for the yeses. But notice, yes. So was Socrates. Socrates, yes, there is a need to. Yes, he was one of the. Yes, I did learn. Yes, indeed, Jesus. Yes, and we've only gone back 20 pages. It's all the way back. Yes, 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 as a starting word. If I type in no, comma, oh no, I hadn't learned, okay. This is a rare time in which Socrates begins with no. No, I'm not playing along with this crap. You're not being genuine. You've rejected everything we've understood and you're in dick mode.
Kant's a little fucking bitch.
Exactly. So, that's interesting. We want to understand the nature of human problems so we can recognize that manifesting. Maybe understand the kinds of manifestations of our blocks, the kind of interpretations, up in the where is it on the board? Here we go. No. Socrates has given us a head start into how we can categorize the different kinds of interpretations. Let me find it on the board. Here we go. Completely rejecting, offering alternatives, adapting the new to their old beliefs, trying to unify the two together, or simply accepting the new. Which one of those is Jesus in? Seems like the end. Because he's rejecting his conclusions. But we could also go through and map what are the different ways Jesus has been blocked already in the book. This seems to be a new one. It's not that he hasn't been able to conclude, or he hasn't been able to follow the steps, or he hasn't been able to understand some key terms. It's that he has already gone through the key terms, the steps, the conclusions, the implications. It's that he's throwing it all out, playing dumb. So we could potentially make a map of those sort of things so that we can recognize when it's happening in a conversation, so we can relate better to the person we're talking to and not get drawn into their pathologos conflict, start fighting. Socrates didn't start fighting with Jesus because that's what believers want. That's the problem reaction solution. The young lady came over, started lying about what was happening so she could justify a fight because that's the only game she knows. People want to create the condition for the only game they know. For Netanyahu, it's abusing and shooting and killing people and stealing shit, lying and stealing and killing. That's the only game he knows from his upbringing. For Trump, it's grifting and racism bullshit and abuse of women and fear of women. That's all he knows. In fact, Socrates outlines this. All we know is the drama of belief. First time chatter, welcome. I'm Buddhist, but find this very interesting. Notice the way of making sense of the world, the beliefs or the way of thinking, Buddhism, comes along with an image of yourself. I am Buddhist. That's about the self. It's not about the system or the beliefs or the tradition or the functioning. notice when you think about yourself as a Buddhist, you have your image of yourself. You have a feeling state, a state of mind. And by the way, that allows for a certain kind of functioning. Notice, a racist will say, I am a Nazi, and I like owning the libs in his state of mind, and allows for a certain functioning. Buying Kid Rock albums, going to MAGA rallies, a certain functioning. Now, you and I can recognize that that is a low level. Maybe one day he will leave his small town and realize that this is all a false belief about himself, causing a state of mind from his family tribe that he grew up with, and his functionings are all a way of justifying the beliefs he carries, his racist Nazi beliefs, and justifying or venerating his way of being. Hopefully he'll one day leave his small town and realize that. Therefore, we could create a hierarchy. We got Nazi racist MAGA dude, very limited amount of functioning, and of course we could also take the map of functioning. So we've got, as a result of this, we could have the limitations Nazi racist down here, Buddhist way up here, because Buddhist functioning involves, hey, meditation, yoga, self-reflection, a reflection on the non-physical realm of reality, mind. And some Buddhist traditions go beyond, like beyond Taoism, to what's even the self. Ain't no fucking racist doing any of that functioning. So we could hierarchically rank our blocks to the logos. That manifests as a functioning called interpretation. I'm sure you've tried to express what you have seen as very meaningful and insightful in Buddhism to people that you want to help, and you've probably encountered many ways in which people have rejected what you've said. Been blind to it, been confused, used tangents, made fun of you, threatened you, etc., etc. Offered their own alternative systems, trying to say, Buddhism is actually very similar to Christianity. Maybe we can bring the two together. A way of saving their old along with the new interpretations. We could have a list of interpretations. Interpretation. Now, what that is a block to, we could also make a list of that. What are the stages of the logos? The word is logos. The word logos means intelligibility, patterns, principles, language, conversation, knowability. For example, as a Buddhist, your functioning might involve a level of logos at a higher level. Hey, have you ever wondered about what consciousness is? You say to a Nazi, their answer is, no, you idiot. Their answer is,
Like literally, suck my dick, dude.
something like that. So in other words, you are you're offering a higher stage within the development of the soul's development than what they're at, causing them to respond according to these interpretations. That's the two kinds of maps. The logos maps our upward development, and the map of the pathologos reflects the ways we interpret pathologos. Racists never look further than their mortal plane and first world problems. Yep. So that's what we're getting into as well today. The physical plane and the realm of mind. And if we can use that to understand this map of logos. Because that map of logos is the hypotheses of Parmenides. The map of development. Hypotheses. Yeah. The hypotheses of Parmenides. The states of mind, of course, the Oxherding pictures of Buddhism. Oxherding pictures are the states of mind as we go through a development of the higher levels of logos. But we don't have to put this in here right now. But for each stage, we function or we develop a triad of the self. I am a Christian. That's my idea of self. This is my state of mind. I am superior from everybody else that's having fun on a Friday night because I'm doing Bible studies, or I'm talking to people about how they're going to go to hell. A certain state of mind and a certain level of functioning that is either open to or blocked from the development of the logos. I do believe they can be changed or that they can mentally expand their prospects, but breaking down that mental wall is immensely difficult, and they can only come to that conclusion themselves. So this would be the art of humanity. As wouldn't you agree that all human beings are somewhere along these two maps? Somewhere along the map of the logos to the ultimate state of self, whatever that happens to be, the ultimate state of mind, whatever that happens to be, and our highest possible functioning. We're all at some level of development towards that. And necessarily because, as you've said, some people change and grow. And we could also say the universe would be unjust if there was no potential for development, for a removal of problems and a development of learning. So we're at some level of logos, all of us, and we're at some level of pathologos. We've got everyone's idea of themselves are different, causing different openness or blockedness to truth. Therefore, the highest use of our understanding would be to understand the development of understanding. The next step is, if we can recognize this is a map or paradigm, if we can also be open to the idea that not only can we understand that in our highest functioning understanding, by the way, the highest functioning, this is called the structure and nature of the logos as an art is called the art of dialectic. Not only can we have this as our ideal functioning, we can verify each of those stages in our own experience. That's the Oxherding pictures, also the hypothesis. Oh, hooray! Welcome.
My head is quite large and filled with secrets.
Now your head is quite large and filled with secrets because you followed.
Cool as a cuke.
And you're cool as a cube. We can verify it in our highest states of mind, which is the experience of the paradigm of the logos as the peak experience is called being, pure being, or mind itself. And of course, we can recognize these within that map of the Logos as the third hypothesis of Parmenides, the one that breaks down understanding or our highest functioning. The second hypothesis, as we've been talking about today, is that peak experience of mind. Of course, even though it's a single experience, there are levels of development within it, mastery of it. That development of mastery is outlined in the ox-herding pictures. And the state of self, the ultimate, which is our goal, to both know and show thyself, know thyself, but know and show thyself, or the one self, is the first hypothesis. So in our development of a map, which would be our highest functioning, moving through it would be our spiritual development of our states of mind. Reaching our ultimate goal would be our purpose or the destiny of man. Hypothesis. But because our method is experience and understanding, we have an art. We can not only know thyself, but also function. So when we are developing a hypothesis as the map of Logos, we can recognize the ideal is at the top there. Therefore, as you're saying, some people can change, and we want to understand the conditions for change so we can act most artfully. For example, I was talking about the kinds of people I run into as a musician. When people are in the open state, open, curious, in wonder about the harmony of music or the beauty of music as a whole, they can be led to deeper reflection about the nature of harmony or the nature of beauty or the nature of mind that follows that same pattern, the same Logos. And even, they could even reflect on the times in their life where they've been blocked from the state of mind. And we're good. Okay. So some people were talking about how they played music in their life, but they got too scared, or they felt like they weren't good enough, or they were in one of these the fuck was that? They were in one of these pathologos states. So all of this is possible when someone is in that open state of mind. When they can't reflect, when they're in their problem. I know better than you. I'm a Christian. I'm a Jew. I'm a Mormon. My underpants are magical, and your underpants are not magical. Therefore, we can never agree. All we can do is fight. The nature of human problems. From that state of mind that manifests in their functioning, their state of mind that manifests and their functioning in this map. So therefore, if our highest human functioning, the art that we are here to master, for those of us who seek excellence and to fulfill our purpose as incarnated beings, is to gain an understanding and experience with these maps so we can recognize where people are at in their blocked state of mind, their pathologo state of mind, and where they're at in their open state of mind. So we can ideally see, oh, you're here. Maybe talking about the self is too far above for you because all you know is the physical world, but maybe we can go from the physical world to reflection on whether or not there are principles in the physical world. Some people think they're materialists. There's only the physical world and it's just random chaos and billiard balls and dust in the wind. But hey, we've been playing a bit of music. Were there certain patterns that existed, even in the physical world? That might be an easier step. So for us to benefit, bodhisattva is a Buddhist term for those that benefit. For us to benefit, having a better understanding of what steps are easier to make along the logos, and having a better understanding of the kinds of blocks that we can recognize that prevent people's openness, will allow us to function most ideally or providentially. And what we've been reading in the text that we've been reading is Socrates saying, that's the new age of man, the new philosophers who function according to their philosophy, who personify it, exemplify it as their own state of mind, but also apply it to their dreams, because the greatest guide we have that will lead us through these two maps to the self is our dream master. And what we've seen now is Jesus has been struggling in his development through the logos, but seems to be in state A, open, curious, interested. But here, the tides have turned. Whoops. Because here, yes, he seems to have, the nature of his problem is to reject what they've already come to and be a bit of a dick. And what we've been looking at now is, what is the nature of that dickishness? Why is it that that particular girl wanted to start a fight? Because that's all she knows in that state of mind from her family clan. Just like all Netanyahu knows is the kinds of injustice he inflicts upon the Jewish people, the Israeli people, the American people, the Palestinian people, and anyone else he has influence over, the Epstein people. He's just playing out his drama. So too has Stalin, so too has Hitler, so too is Trump. Everyone is, when they are in their pathologo state of mind. Notice what's the same about all of these people? They were certain that they knew. I know what's good for Germany, says Hitler. I know what's good for the Jews, says Netanyahu. I know what's good for the Americans, says Hitler. They're all fucked. They're all wrong. They're all doing extreme injustice. But what makes them the same is that they all think they know something they don't. They are taking their stage of logos literally. It's the only one. It's not a stage. It's not a part within a whole. There is no whole. It's just this part. My state of mind, and this is what we've been reading in the text. The human conflict is what state of mind will win. Every state of mind is attached to an image. That image will attract some people. Trump will have his Trumpers and repel others. But not only is there a loyalty to this negative triad because we think it's beneficial, there is a fear of the ideal triad. People are learn to be afraid of learning to understand a new system. But all I know is Christianity. All I know is Taoism. All I know is how to be an Israeli murderer, genocider on the IDF. All I know. I can't learn. I'm too old, or I'm too stupid. I'm a small bean. Bullshit. It's a fear that we learned as part of our indoctrination to our pathologos way of being. So it's a fear of understanding. It's a fear of our higher states of mind. That's the devil. The demons live in the higher dimensions. Oh, it's so scary. They'll get you. Oh, devils and pitchforks. And a fear of the freedom of self. I can't be free. So what are all of the conservatives in America saying? Tread on me, Daddy. Take away our freedom, Daddy Trump. Shoot us in the street, Daddy, because we're so scared of being free. oppress us. See? Always the same. Learnt from their family. Exploited by conservatives. Tell us what to do, Trump. Exploited by religion. Tell us what to do, preacher, imam, rabbi, minister, bishop, pope. See? All of those people in the list are different. All of them tell people different shit, but what makes them the same is they're all telling people what to do because of a learnt fear of the freedom of self. Capitalists, same thing. Tell us what to do with our life, boss, CEO. Tell us what products to buy. Tell us what to do with my life from 9 to 5 so I can afford a house. Why? That's just oppression. The slavery with extra steps. So, a fear of our ideal and a loyalty to what we're familiar with. A fear of our openness of side A and a loyalty to side B. But as we've been learning, there are moments like this channel, like music, like other content creators that are out there, who are able to break through that fear of the A and say, look at all the fun we're having over here. Look at all the fun we're having understanding things. Look at all the fun we're having, not just understanding what's happening in the world, but understanding the states of mind behind the people who do it. The Asmongold's of the world are in a certain state of mind. They have a certain motivation behind everything they do. And the grifters, the same thing. So we never would never pay any attention to literally what grifters say. Fox News and right-wing podcasters.
I don't want to eat a monkey.
Who tell you not to eat a monkey.
I don't want to eat a monkey.
I'm eating the testicles of this bull, and I'm eating it raw.
And they tell you to eat raw bull testicles because we know that their state of, that they're not motivated by truth. They're not motivated by a love of wisdom, which is the highest, which is wisdom is defined in philosophy. See, we don't have to be confused about what wisdom is. It's this experience. Second hypothesis, and the third, that's wisdom. That's wisdom. The state of mind and the functioning together, understanding and knowing together. Now, if both of these are somehow an emanation or reflection of self, we can wonder, is there a kind of higher wisdom of the self? That's our ultimate question. If knowing is ultimately the second hypothesis, the peak experience of mind, the penultimate spiritual no good just having a glimpse. The story of Jesus and Mark told us the problems of that. But also understanding, allowing us to know and show the self. Hang on a second. Isn't our ultimate goal to know and show the self? So even these two are not it. The third hypothesis, when you can get into what we do here. By the way, the fourth hypothesis is the pathologos, because it's belief. So if our human purpose is to move into from the fourth belief into the third understanding, even the third isn't the end. Third and then the second. But even the second isn't the end. And that's what we're seeing with Jesus. Jesus is able to participate in understanding to a level and has had an experience of divine luminosity, or second hypothesis, allowing him to be able to reflect on certain ideas Socrates is having. But now Socrates has been talking about the first. As above, so below. So below, we've seen our problems are, the problems in belief. But in the below realm, our highest functioning is understanding. Our highest state of mind is pure mind or being. But that still has to have a cause. This is triggering Jesus. Even this experience has a cause. And causes have to be prior, superior. Fuck, what was the other one? Prior, superior, higher. Independent. Superior, independent, and prior from its effect. So, the two ideas together. The cause has to be superior, independent, and prior to its effects. The artist is prior to her painting. The artist is prior to her lovely drawings, and superior and independent. You could lose a drawing, but you still would have the artist. Or if you tear up a drawing, or a cat chews up the drawing, still the artist is independent. The artist is still herself. Along with the principle of as above, so below. So not only is the cause of even Jesus' peak experience prior, it is reflecting the same nature in a similar way. That's the principle of analogy. Analogy is how we move through all of these stages. For every stage, we understanding this part of the triangle, our own position, and we engage our imagination, this part of the triangle, by imagining how this principle of as above, so below works, so we can imagine a hypothesis greater than ours. That's not the same, it's not literally ours, but it's similar. A king is to his subjects as a shepherd is to his sheep. It's not the same, it's similar. There are some things that are the same, like care, but it's different. The king doesn't care for his subjects by feeding them grass. That's analogy. So you got to understand your position to have something to work with analogy, and then you apply it. That's engaging our understanding and imagination. Now, Socrates has told us, by the way, if you want to perfect that, understanding and imagination comes together, if you are engaged in a continuous study of dreams, what we've been saying is, well, it's good to learn Buddhist texts. Well, it's fantastic to read the text that we're reading in the way that we're reading it here. You apply your learning of how to read to your dreams. That's the highest expression of human dialectical functioning. The highest activity that we can engage in, dream analysis. Which is why we can also hierarchically rank every philosopher who's ever existed and have an understanding of what will let us know whether or not they're higher. Those who are ignoring dreams, Plato, might do really well with their understanding, but haven't reached the level of Sneesius, who saw the significance of dreams, or Socrates, who said that dreams were essential to solving problems. Socrates says here, you know what? I want to hang out with, I want my homies to be those who have a kinship with their dreams. As they practice. So you can practice everything we're doing here in dream analysis. The continuous study of dreams, that imagination, through analogy, can be conjoined with our highest, most profound understanding that can awaken our divine character. Sounds very similar to the triad or threesome of self. Imagination or state of mind, understanding or functioning can come together. Now, a triad for that would be, notice, this triad is a fundamental principle of everything. We can apply it to our upward, upward, or anagogic. Triad, which is the activity triad of the soul, represented with ideas of Apollo, as understanding, Aphrodite as states of mind, and Hermes as the dialectic. Socrates is saying, hey, by the way, you can join imagination and profound understanding into a single cognitive ability through dream analysis.
It's better to come in the sink than to sink in the cum.
Which is an analogy, right?
I'm too pure.
Too pure for Emma.
Jesus Christ, Emma, this is not Opie and Anthony or whatever the hell.
Well, calm down.
It's sad. And I'm sad for you.
You can join your most profound understanding with your highest imagination, which is awakening your divine character. How interesting. Something about the nature of the god or the gods, first or second hypothesis, unifies both. That is a cognitive function we call intuitive intelligence, and it's functions through the eye of the soul. Ooh. And can be approached and experienced, through dream analysis. It is from God that knowledge of dreams comes. It is clear that the gods are not independent floating beings, but pure intelligences. So, he is distinguishing gods from God. He's saying the gods are not floating beings in the sky, Jesus, religious people, literalists, but pure intelligences. Therefore, he's distinguishing the first hypothesis, God, singular, from the gods, plural, which are the aspects of intelligence or intelligences within intelligence itself. So God's second hypothesis, God first. And our dreams come from God, he says. It is from not God's, but God. So therefore, our highest imagination or state of mind, our highest functioning, ultimately peaks out, reaches our end. We reach the end of the game, our purpose, in a state of self, which also is responsible for creating our dreams, the dream maker. If our highest state of self, using the highest cognitive function in the highest kind of providential care, is our dream maker, maybe you can see why we put understanding our dreams and our dream maker as literally the highest stage of human functioning, or the highest participation in the logos. One of the conversations that came up last night was about dream analysis. And all I could really say is, doesn't matter how well I talk about dreams, almost every single person I've ever met in my life has had a pathologos interpretation reaction to what I said. Doesn't matter if I'm talking to the most ignorant person, and if I say I've been doing dreams for many, many years and studied under a master of dream analysis. Doesn't matter if I refer to Socrates, someone recognized as the greatest mind ever to walk the planet. Doesn't matter how well I say it, everyone else thinks they know better which is fucking insane. The level of certainty is insane. Not insane, understandable. So in that conversation I was having last night, our highest activity is dream analysis, but no one will do it. No one will even be open to hearing that. Or out of the 8 billion people on our planet, I expect only a handful. I could probably count them on one hand. The people who are open to that truth, explained well, verifiable in your own experience, is not a belief. People will go through this map, which most will just reject it. Most will say, oh, you know what I think beliefs are? I think it's your subconscious. That's an alternative system of belief. No, it isn't. That's just what you already believe. How long have you been doing dream analysis? 0 years? Well, fuck me. I guess you know better. Adapt the new. Oh, really? Dreams are meaningful. That's interesting. I think they are meaningful, but I'm going to adapt it to my old belief that its dreams are a message from Jesus or some bullshit. See, adapting it to their old. Trying to find a unity. Well, I still believe in the subconscious or whatever. So it's, for me, it's like, yeah, dreams are understandable messages from the self, but it's also, I don't know, Abraham. Fuck me, I don't know. They're always going to be in this. Very, very few people are open to the possibility of accepting the new. And we can understand why. We can understand the categories of interpretation. Where was I drawing? Oh, up here. And the reason why it's almost guaranteed to trigger someone is because it's the highest stage of human activity and functioning. And in that activity, which is why Socrates wants to be homies with these people, it allows for our highest goal. The intuitive intelligence awakens through the eye of the soul, unifying, conjoining both our highest use of imagination or mind and our highest, most profound understanding. A unity sense. So, Jesus must be in one of these kinds of interpretations, the one where he's rejecting the new, but also we can develop our own flavor. What flavor is he rejecting the new? He's in the flavor of rejecting his own conclusions, rejecting the conclusions they've come to from this conversation, threatening violence to Socrates. We can only be ever in conflict. Claiming to be the ruler. Let me tell you what. Hey, how often has Socrates, as Jesus, led the conversation so far? None. Because he's not the doctor of the soul. He's the patient. That's the debate believes that everyone else, there is no doctor. This racist idiot is just as informed as this left-wing journalist. Fuck off, that's stupid. Your opinions are not equal. Your opinions of medicine are not equal to the understanding of the doctor, you idiot. Only kings, clergy, and capitalists want you to believe that. Because conservatives don't have any understanding, they're the most blocked. Capitalists don't have any understanding, they're the most blocked. We call them psychopaths or sociopaths. The most sociopathic, who put profit among all human dignity, all human care, are the most sick. The real word is the most pathologos blocked, most pathologos based ignorance. Religion, same thing. Venerating their own ignorance, no self-reflection, no understanding. teaching people to fear their own development, their own freedom of self, their own direct experience of the gods and God, which is a recognition of your own God's intelligence and your own God self, the God, and your own functioning of understanding. So they're the worst. The worst of our species are in rulership positions because of our lack of understanding of what's within this red circle. Applies to our souls as it does to our society. So, why? Why, when triggered by a level that they're not familiar with, do they respond the way they do? Like snowflakes. There's always a trigger, there's always that kind of trigger, but everyone's trigger is different. Because it's what they know. Instead of being open and curious about what they don't know, which is fine when it's music, sometimes, not for everyone, as I just mentioned. Some people's response to what they're confused about is to retreat into what's familiar because of their fear of this openness. Or, as it said in the text, uh, 222:1. How are we for time? Wait, I think we're almost out of time. Yes, we are. We'll finish this. Next time, we're going to read further. And we're going to reflect on the hypotheses of Parmenides. Because if this is so important, if the hypotheses of Parmenides is the highest achievement in humanity so far, the highest use of understanding, and not only that, necessary for everyone for their own development, and if we say there's any moral responsibility as a person, it would be to learn these hypotheses so you can overcome your own unsuspected injustice. And if there's any ethical, how we should act within our world, within our society, responsibility, it would be to learn these hypotheses so that we are not conned by capitalists, clergy, and conservatives, those that manipulate us through our pathologos, and we demand, just as we demand the best basketball players in the NBA, the best football players in the NFL, we must demand the highest hypotheses people into leadership positions of our species. Currently, it's the bottom people. That's why our society is fucked at the moment. So we have an ethical responsibility to nail down the hypotheses of Parmenides. So what we're going to do next time is see if we can build from scratch an understanding of these hypotheses. Because as we're seeing, there is some state of mind and some functioning. By the way, that state of mind most people identify with. So you can say there's a self or mind or identity and functioning. There's a self-identity or functioning or mind in the realm of mind, or as our chatter said, in the corporeal world, in the physical world. So there's an ousia, self-reflection, an idea of self, and there's a logos or functioning. We've said that's the second hypothesis and third hypothesis. In the physical world, there is its distorted shadow. I am a Mormon, I am a this, I am a that. Some sort of ousia or self-identity of belief. Fourth hypothesis. And as some activity only in the physical world. Hey, there might be a God or divine or self or mind, but we don't connect with it. There's only the physical world that we can relate to. There are positions, the sixth sixth, seventh, eighth, and ninth hypothesis that are defined by a rejection of that. Nihilists are the ninth. They're in the physical world, so they're still under this line of the physical world. But they say there is no logos in our activity. There's no logos or meaning or rationality in any activity. That's nihilism. Nothing. There's no meaning. It's all delusion deluding the deluded. Eighth hypothesis are materialists. There is a physical world, sure, but there's no self-identity. We're all just chemicals. We're all just atoms. That's it. Anyone who says that there's any mind or self is insane. Eighth hypothesis, defined by an opposition of the first four. Now, the first hypothesis is above. Remember, the cause has to be independent, superior, and prior. Self. Seventh hypothesis. Oh, okay, well, so we're in the realm of mind. We're thinking about our world. But there's no independent realm of mind. It's just thinking. There is thought, but it's not mind. And by the way, the principles that underline our physical world in the seventh hypothesis is there's no logos. If logos is the providential functioning from the second, the gods, and the first, the self, there's no providence. There's no need to do dream analysis. How can there be some providential connection from the divine if there isn't one? It's no logos. It's all dog eat dog out there. Opposing forces. The logos has a map of levels that are hierarchically arranged. The seventh hypothesis says, no, there isn't. It's just hot and cold. Good guys versus bad guys. Devils versus angels. Hot and cold. A back and forth principle, survival of the fittest. Now, that's a bit better than materialism because it allows for some principles, but they are rejecting providential principles from mind. Notice each of these four hypotheses are defined your worldview, your understanding, your functioning or understanding, your state of mind, and your identity with self. Your triad of self is defined within this hypothesis. Sixth hypothesis, the isms. There is another way we can look at this is parts and whole. For example, the ninth hypothesis says there's no parts, because the fifth hypothesis says we're just parts. We cannot unify with the whole of the divine. The fourth hypothesis says we can. In the physical world, we can be a whole. So there's our whole and parts. Therefore, when you come together singing Kumbaya to Jesus or singing Praise Trump at a rally, you can become a greater whole in the physical world. That makes you closest to Jesus or closest to Abraham or closest to Lord Xenu or closest to whatever the fuck. Imagination, literal lie about the divine. So the fourth and fifth we have been calling as ignorance. Because fifth hypothesis people reject mind as something we can engage in. It's all woo-woo, it's all phooey. Fourth hypothesis people say yes, only in the physical world by my clan identity. Whether it's my family, pathologos, so everyone is in the fourth hypothesis, unless you've gone through philosophical midwifery and dream analysis completely. But in particular, it's most easy to see in conservative movements or religious movements. Religion, fourth. We can be a whole or be ousia. Ousia means to turn around and know yourself as the whole, but only in the physical world. See, it's the physical world. below this line. There's mind and the physical world. Materialists reject that. There's no whole. Nihilists say there's no parts. There's not even parts. It's nothing. It's just delusion. Materialists say there's parts, but there's no whole. We're just all physical atoms. Every experience of beauty is just brain chemistry squirting. Every Rembrandt is $4 worth of paint on a $10 canvas. That's it. Seventh hypothesis says there's reason, but there's no mind. There's no source. How dare you say that there is an independent realm to the physical realm where intelligence exists causally, and we participate in as souls to some level based on our development? How dare you? It's just theories, academics. If you learn philosophy at school, you'll likely hear. What do they call it? Not the dialectic, but physical dialectical. What do they call it? Hegelian dialectic. It's just physical forces. The bad guys come, and then the good guys come, and then the good guys and the bad guys fight, and then they come together. And Hegelian dialectic. Materialist dialectic. That's the seventh hypothesis. Notice, it rejects the true dialectic while taking its name. That's also the most popular idea of philosophy by far on the internet. Almost every single person I've seen making philosophical content online is in the seventh hypothesis because they are Stoics. Stoics takes the language of the logos, which is to do with mind and also inherent in self, and removes mind and self. It's about being a tough guy and doing push-ups and having a cold plunge and eating your bull testicles, right?
Unbelievable sluts these days.
No, bull testicles.
I'm eating the testicles of this bull, and I'm eating it raw.
That was a good one. That was a good pull. Right, Joe Rogan?
I eat a monkey.
Stoics.
People don't logic their way into stupid positions. They stupid their way into stupid positions.
Also important insight from the Oracle. Often you'll see people at academic colleges, which, by the way, one of the reasons is our society is based on the thought of Aristotle, which, again, he rejects the mind. So you could call him a fifth hypothesis person. Also, seventh. As a result, because you stay in the physical world, all your reasoning has to be in rejection to mind because it doesn't challenge the fourth hypothesis believers. Emperor Justinian, who killed the philosophers in 529 AD, bringing in the end of the Golden Age of the West and the beginning of the Dark Ages, didn't want his ideas threatened, so our current colleges are Stoic, or philosophy is just evolution. I did a class back in college once, the philosophy of art. The paintings that humans like are paintings with rivers in them and lush mountains, because that's how we evolved. Those that evolved to seek wide open spaces where you could farm cows and close to sources of water survived. So our love of beauty is nothing but the blind, no providence, no higher intelligent care, the blind back and forth forces of evolution. That's all art is, that's all beauty is, that's all philosophy is for moderns. Pretty fucked, right? It's a position defined by an opposition to the third, just as nihilism is an opposition to the fifth. The fifth says we're only parts, that we're not connected to the whole in the physical world. Well, there's not even parts. Believers say we can come together in a whole that reflects the highest, the mind or God. But no God, no whole, nothing like that, even in the physical world. Materialists. The third hypothesis, our ideal functioning, providentially from the whole of mind, or, as Socrates has been telling us today, the ideal, the intuitive intelligence of self that brings together these two as a oneness. So either a We talked about today the need to remember your peak experience, because that's the paradigm for your understanding. That's beauty itself, that's justice itself. And it's that force that is usurped by our belief, the appearances of beauty in our parental figures. We keep and we don't want to challenge, and we defend to the death, because our soul wants to be really remembering true beauty. But it's that need to remember true beauty as the source of our functioning is so important that our imitators in childhood become rulers over our soul. We don't want to question our loved ones. That's why it's so hard for people. It's why it takes courage and character to go through philosophical midwifery. So that whole that we carry, we hold on to in some way, functions providentially to us in each moment, and especially in dreams. But in each moment, you don't choose your thoughts. You don't choose the next moment. It's given. It creates the frame by frame movement of our physical world. So the creation of that frame by frame movement of that we perceive as time, that's the third hypothesis, comes from the second. So too in the sixth and seventh, the back and forth, blind, cruel, good versus evil, violent functioning is an opposition to providential divine care. So too, its source, the paradigm or map, doesn't exist eternally in our peak experience. It's just something we think up. Marxism, Hegelian dialectical whatever bullshit. Socialism, capitalism, Nazism, all of the isms. A thing that we think, hey, this is the truth. So again, blind parts or cruel parts from what's it in opposition to? Ousia, or intelligence, a non-intelligent principle. So non-intelligent parts, cruel, blind, either or, reflecting a non-intelligent principle. See? Model and copy, or ousia and logos in each of these four divisions. Or identity, hey, I'm identifying with the sixth. I am a Marxist. I am a capitalist. I am a Buddhist. I am. So it's a kind of, well, not Buddhist, because Buddhist would be on the other side, because this side is there is no self. No self or mind or logos or ousia. The rejection of the self logos. So for instance, the fifth hypothesis technically says, oh yeah, there is, because I'm in this one, there is a self logos. We just can't connect to it because we are parts of the physical world. Whereas these say, what if there is no self? So therefore it's a dialectic of what if the self is? What would it be its definition, its functioning, its division, and its disconnected conclusion? Dialectic, 4 categories under the idea of if the self is, the self logos is, and if it isn't. Therefore, we've got a basic understanding. I was going to do it next time, but we kind of did it right now. We've got a basic understanding of how it unfolds. If everything is either a noun, everything that ever is either one of two things: a thing or a relationship. So the noun or an adjective. It's either the model or the copy. It's either the ousia or the logos. We can take those two possibilities that underline everything. Hey, by the way, whole or part, same thing. All of the self-logos terms that we can carry, whole or part, same, different, out of time, in time, etc. But we can take those two primary ideas of ousia and logos, or model and copy, or self-identity and your self-functioning, and map them to the realm of mind or the physical world as a position that you're at because you're stuck there, because you're taking it literally. We can expand these for 1, 2, 3, 4, second, third, fourth, and fifth hypothesis into the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th by saying there are some people whose whole position, whose whole worldview is a rejection of one of them. Nihilism is saying there's no parts, a rejection of the fifth. In the physical world. See, the physical world is, whoops. The physical world, here. The realm of mind, here. 6th and 7th say, oh, there's reasoning, but no pure intelligence in a whole different dimension to the physical world. There's no realm of being. There's only the physical world. I've never taken acid. I've never done intense yoga. I've never had a near-death experience. I am not familiar with the realm of mind, therefore it doesn't exist, because if it did, my daddy would have been lying, or my preacher could have been stupid, and I don't have the courage and integrity to challenge my earliest teachers who I still want to carry and protect. Because that's the nature of human problems. A loyalty to our negative triad and a fear of our true triad. The true triad is 3, 2, 1. So there's reasoning, but it's just survival of the fittest, evolutionary theory, in a way that rejects a divine motive behind it, an intelligible pattern behind it. 7th hypothesis. There is a principle that we should be ruling our world upon, but it's not the principle of pure intelligence. There is a justice, but it's Marxism, it's capitalism, it's Nazism, it's socialism, all the isms. The true paradigm or model of justice is the 2nd hypothesis, which is the literal paradigm of everything in existence. As the ideal that's being used in each moment in the 3rd hypothesis to create each moment. Therefore, our ethical responsibility as human beings is to at least recognize this, so we demand people who have experienced the ideal of justice and developed a mastery of understanding of its parts as our positions of leadership. And if we give Stephen Curry and LeBron James and Tom Brady $1 billion for playing sports, we can give $5 billion to these rare birds, because they're going to save our they're necessary to organizing our species in a just way, to put an end to human suffering and injustice and create our, not just survive, putting an end to those negative things, but to create a flourishing. Why not? I don't think they would want more money they can spend in their lifetime, because that would be a sickness of those in the physical realm, 4th, 5th, 8th, and 9th. Accumulating more physical things and to justify physical gratification that they couldn't spend in a million lifetimes. The hoarders, again, clergy, conservatives, capitalists, all those who venerate the pathologos. So, that's a brief breakdown of the 9 hypotheses of Parmenides. What we haven't looked at is the fact that Jesus is being triggered because he seems to have had an experience of the second, allowing him to participate in understanding with Socrates, but now Socrates is saying, as above, so below. If there is an ousia and logos in pure mind that you experienced Jesus and identified with, you thought that you were the next big thing, you were the next coming of Elijah, etc., king of the Jews and all that, because you've identified with your position. But as above, so below. There has to be a cause to even that experience. Now, no one else around it, well, not often is it experienced, so he is special. It's still a high state. It's penultimate. But Socrates is saying, hey, even these two have a cause. That's what's triggering him. Meaning we can understand that asking someone in the second to participate in understanding third of the first might trigger them the way that Jesus is being triggered, which might help us understand why Jesus says he seldom uses this expression, and it requires the highest level of intelligence for people to be able to listen to it without just rejecting it. Now, because we are understanding these hypotheses for ourselves and not just memorizing it from the text, if we read the, should we put it over here? We could have gone through this by reading the Parmenides, and we will probably read it on this channel at some stage. But we are understanding its aspects, and what's important about that is, in doing that for the let's go a different color. Hypotheses of Parmesan chicken, Parmenides, we can, by recognizing the inherent structure, this is the theme today. Today we started with, we're not just reading what Socrates says, we're understanding the structure of his thoughts. We're not just memorizing the Logos terms, we are learning the structure. We're not just reading about Socrates relating to Jesus in this way, we are doing it ourselves because we know that we're learning the patterns. So we don't have to imitate word for word what Socrates said to Jesus. We can use the structure and use the words to talk to anyone. Use music analogies if you're talking to music lovers. Use skateboarding analogies. Today I used gaming analogies, which made me very late. And I was mogging. Maybe. Because I use those terms analogously by understanding the structure. Also, by understanding the structure, we can discover the missing parts. We can solve puzzles. We can play and have fun.
Where's the joy? Where's the whimsy? Where's the childlike wonder?
We can have childlike wonder, dude. Have fun with it. Have fun with it. A new one. Gooner bait.
Gooner bait.
No. We can joy
I'm
max.
joy maxing, okay? And if I aura mog you because I'm joy maxing so hard, that just sounds like your cortisol levels are spiking for no reason.
Exactly. We can joy max and mog the haters and spike their cortisol by playing the game, solving the puzzles. Hang on a second. As above, so below. Hey, welcome, Nitro. To you, the Oracle says,
You're a little bitch ass baby.
oh my goodness, that was very rude.
Absolutely gooped.
That was an absolutely good response. What she should have said is
I'm always good. And that is what I stand for, being good all the time.
that you're being good all the time that you're in the chat. And Emma would agree
I'm cute. Like, it's cutie pie.
because she's cute. All right, so as above, so below. If there is therefore a highest peak state of mind in the non-physical dimension of mind, and highest functioning from that, which we can engage in it as human beings, there must be a cause that has to be higher and independent. Therefore, we can ask the question, is there a ousia or self-identity that is the true identity of self, that is our highest good, that is the one highest good, the highest one truth. And of course, is there a logos or activity or way of responding to parts, if this is whole, to know yourself as a whole and to respond most beneficially through parts? Is there such a thing as above, so below in the highest? And ousia and logos of self, that is beyond experience. What Socrates seems to be calling intuitive, what do you call it? Intuitive, which unifies the both. Let's find it in the text. Intuitive. Intuitive intelligence that, through the study of dreams, is the method, conjoins the two, awakens a divine character. So in other words, is there a missing term here? Get this stuff out of the way. This is how we play and have fun. Is there a missing term here and a missing term here relating to the self? And would that also mean, oops, that there could be a position understood by a rejection of the knowing of self and a rejection of the showing of self? We have to ask which of these four is the first hypothesis of Parmenides. Therefore, we can create the 10th, 11th, and 12th to finish the map. What would it be? If this is the wisdom expression of the self, and this is the ignorance expression of the self, is there a similar relationship between this idea, non-rejection of self? Or if this is being, is this non-being? Is there a way that we can understand this as the pathologos, maybe? So how does it relate? Is this the pathologos as the rejection of the logos? Or could there be a pathoousia as well? Pathoousia. If this is a rejection of the logos and ousia. So these are a whole bunch of questions we have. And if these, as we've said today, this map is our ethical responsibility, our moral responsibility for our functioning within society and within our soul, but also it's our literal purpose for our own soul's development. Not just in society, but for our own development, happiness. To master this map, because it's the highest functioning we can have, and it's necessary to understand our own development, our own problems, and as our chatter said, how to best facilitate the development of those we care about. And if it's the use of dialectical understanding, which is our highest activity, applied to the map of that development, these hypotheses would be, by definition, the greatest thing human beings have achieved. The greatest application of the dialectic. Right here on the board. Which can help us understand why this the dialectic called the Parmenides, where Socrates learns this from Parmenides, is called the greatest book never read. It contains every possible stage of development for any soul, any culture, any species, any race. Predates Christianity. We wouldn't have to have lived through the Crusades and this terrible subjugation of women and enslavement of other non-races and genocides because that's Christianity. We don't have to go through that shit. That's just the fourth hypothesis with a little bit of seventh mixed in there. Sometimes functioning in 5. We know what that's going to be. We don't have to murder people for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. The greatest book never read. Equally so for your life. You don't have to go through the dramas and problems and reincarnations if you can understand the map. So we can understand why it's called the greatest creation and the greatest book never read, the greatest application of dialectic to date. But we can also improve on it by understanding its inherent structure. By the way, what's the name for understanding the inherent structure of self and reality? The Logos. So we can add to the greatest thing, which is important because Socrates has said that there is a group of people on the planet currently, which I suspect are you bros and chicks, homies. I have heard something going on down there on planet Earth where I haven't met any of those who may be doing it. They're not up in heaven yet. I think it won't be long before I meet these new philosophers. In other words, maybe we can have a chat with Socrates wherever he currently is, without having to drop dead, of course. The new philosophers. What are these new philosophers? Asked Jesus. Well, they're not interpreters. It's not the modern scholars and the lovers of opinion, the debate perverts.
Progress didn't happen.
Drop the attitude, man.
Sorry.
First you're saying the F word or whatever you said. Now the tone is completely out of control.
Oh my goodness, I apologize.
Dumbass.
Oh my goodness.
Spit on me.
Oh, Emma, calm down.
Debate dweeb.
Debate dweebs, not the debate dweebs, or the Philodoxias, or the Stoics. But there are this new class of philosophers who are exploring dreams, writing their new dialogues, doing philosophical midwifery, continuing this Platonic tradition. The apex is these hypotheses, and adding significant elements to it, while also living their life according to it and becoming exemplars of our philosophy. So not only are we contributing to the greatest work of human development, we are being given an opportunity to be this new class, maybe even meet Socrates, get a ticket to some party that he's in, but we're being given an opportunity to add to the greatest development of human creation so far, human thought, and live it, and write our own dialogues. So we are able to understand these hypotheses, its necessity, why it's the apex of human development, and we can also contribute to it by maybe doing the 10th, 11th, and 12th, and having fun dancing, of course.
My head is quite large and filled with secrets.
Because our heads are quite large and filled with secrets. Giving us an opportunity to become that new class of man Socrates calls the new philosophers. Because we can add to this. We understand it, we can add to it, be the new philosophers, have fun, and we can dance. So we're doing well. Also, we asked the question of why do people go when they are triggered by a level of that hypothesis beyond where they're at. That's because hang on, I forgot the key word. Socrates recently said it. He said, all they know is the drama from their family. Here we go. They have been, okay. Behind the fear of mind lies another threat that periodically sweeps across the land, bringing death and destruction along with it. When literalists gain power, not only of our species, but of our own individual lives. When you take your problems literally, wonder about it is an analogy to help you figure out your false beliefs and free them. When you're in that B state, that I'm certain about whatever position I'm in, then you cannot stand any higher truths, like that young lady wanting to start fights because everyone else was having fun with music last night. Or the debate bro perverts or whatever. You get it. They cannot stand higher truths beyond their reach, nor do they have any desire to make up for their shortcomings because they believe they already have the truth, and they will destroy whatever stands in their way, even if it's destroying a fun time that we musicians are having, lovers of music are having. When they seize control of the divisions, they reduce it to what they can understand and burn the rest. just as Jesus is trying to reduce these questions about the source of mind and understanding, second and third, the first and maybe 10th as well, hypothesis, the self, he was trying to burn the conversation down. He's trying to take over the conversation. I know, I am certain, it's my beliefs. You are this Socrates, and I'm a zealot, and you're that, and we're different, and we can only fight. We can never agree. He's burning the conversation. And what's he trying to do now? Introduce a kind of fight that he is used to. Notice how the fights in Japanese families are different from the fights in German families, different from the fights in Italian families. Same shit, burning down intelligibility, burning down helpful, fun, friendly, reasoned reflection, logos and ousia upon causes for further insight in solving problems, burning down the logos. That's debate. That's pathologos. But notice every family does it differently. They have only been exposed to the drama of belief from their family upbringing. The same bullshit that Hitler and Trump learnt, and Netanyahu and Putin and Stalin learnt in their family drama, the drama from their family clan, they inflict on the world. That's the nature of all human problems and all individual problems. The only difference is those people are venerating their personal pathologos under the name of God or the law. Or, I'm a billionaire, so I get to say whatever happens. Kings, capitalists, and clergy. They cannot stand to view what they take as true and subject to analysis, just as Jesus is being triggered, reflecting on his position he's taking literally. Hey, why are you like that? That girl who was being a menace, I was going to ask her about her state of mind. Why do you have a need to reduce it to a kind of conflict that you are projecting to justify what you're familiar with? Who does that at home? Why do you have a need to destroy what's good? But that will trigger her further because she's in that negative state. That's why music was helpful in bringing the other negative people into an open, curious state. They changed. She didn't. They cannot stand to take what they view and reflect on it. They cannot stand ousia. In opposition to ousia. They hold fast their literal reading that supports their beliefs, yet these beliefs are claims that need to be examined. There is only one standard to examine truth, of any spiritual or philosophical truth. What is that? Whatever claim is being made as true needs to be demonstrated by reasoned reflection. Sounds very much like functioning. The ousia part. The 3 or the 5 or the 9 or the 7. Or the functioning part of the triad or threesome of self. Reasoned reflection, confirmed in experience. That sounds like the state of mind of our triad. Or the ousia of our map, 2, 4, 6, and 8. So any truth, the truth of any idea, philosophical, spiritual, is demonstrated by reason, reflection, logos, confirmed in experience, ousia, by those whose primary interests are in that A state of mind. Those who are seeking a love of wisdom, balanced by whatever experience they have had of that. So the greater you can have that experience, the more open you are to pure intelligence. And the more open you are to experience it, because it's both the experience of pure intelligence and its understanding that we call wisdom. It's these two here. That's wisdom. Just as human problems are belief and a rejection of the logos down here. but we can expand the kinds of different flavors of human ignorance by including the negative set. In other words, hey, I believe in my whatever, family, clan, religion, way of being, whatever. Pathologos. I function to stop the logos. That's human problems. But the flavors you could add. How do you reject the logos? Oh, because I'm a nihilist. Because I don't even think there's even parts. I don't even think there is mind or parts. There's nothing. Oh, I reject mind because I'm in the 7th, rejecting the logos. I think there's rationality, but it's something we invent. There's no divine force, so you guys are crazy, you spiritual people. You're all woo-woos and foo-foos. You're hippies. Get a job, hippie. That's what I say, because I'm in the 7th. See, we can expand it. Now, giving us these 8 categories of mind in the physical world. Either it's ousia, self-identity, whole. It's parts, activity, logos. Ousia and logos of the mind, of the physical world. Taking literally. That's it. Like, this is my position. That's all there is. The 4 that oppose it give us the 8 possible ways of thinking of humanity that we can go through. We can also explore the ultimate ideal, the first hypothesis and the 10th. We have to add the 10th. And we can wonder about if there is a reflection. Is there a pathologos expression and pathoousia self, 11th and 12th? And we can even wonder if there's a connection between the pathologos and these 4 within its set, just as the self has its true expression in wisdom, 2nd and 3rd, its false expression in human ignorance, 4th and 5th. Is there a similar dynamic between the pathologos and the 6th and 7th, or 8th and 9th? What could that be? Maybe you can, even if you're in the 6th and 7th, is that a true expression of the pathologos? The way you reason, your ism of your 6th, is that a true expression of your pathologos? You're a Nazi, you're a capitalist, you're whatever ism you identify with. The reasoning that unfolds is not the true reasoning, it's from your idea of self. So therefore the 6th and 7th, could that be the true expression of your pathologos? When you're in the 8th hypothesis and you reject any sort of whole, we're all just billiard balls. Would that help? Would that be a kind of rejection of even your own pathologos? Denying the thing that rules your life, whether you like it or not? Nihilists, to say there is no meaning, there is no meaningful activity of any kind. There isn't even parts, there isn't even activity. By the way, you're still saying it, you're still doing it, you're still stuck in your pathologos. So is that a kind of true and false expression of the pathologos? Just as there is a true and false expression within wisdom and ignorance of the self. I love this map because you can just take the first 5 and understand all human nature and problems. But you can expand it as well. Just like you can say, well, there's only really one activity we're here to do. It's called philosophical midwifery, giving birth to the ideas that either we are here to develop as our purpose or destiny, or we're here to remove as the sick babies to remove our fate. Or you could expand that further and say, actually, there's philosophy dialectic. There's the removal of problems, which is the philosophical midwifery dialectic. And there is its approach to dream analysis, which is also dialectic, and your expressions. You're making your own mythology, sharing it. But notice philosophical midwifery is on one level the defining term, but within the set, it's a different term. Just as we said, we can say all human problems are caused by belief. It's true. But you could also break it down further and say that there are axiomatic beliefs, there are scientific beliefs, there are simple beliefs, there are religious or supernatural beliefs, there are prejudice beliefs, and there are pathologos beliefs. So yes, all problems are caused by belief, the pathologos. But if you want to break it down further, within a further breakdown, within a more diverse division, pathologos is one of the beliefs. Let's take either. Wisdom, same thing. You say wisdom. But we could say, well, actually, there's the wisdom of the potential as above, so below, a wisdom of ousia and logos of self together. There is the wisdom of the second hypothesis, ousia, and the third hypothesis, logos, together as wisdom. There's the virtue of wisdom, to be seeking that even though you don't have it in the journey. The virtue of wisdom, the thing that you don't need anything to begin, you just practice. You do the reading even though your pathologos says don't. You follow the logos that you're learning even though it doesn't feel right, it's weird. The A state of mind. So I find that interesting, that there are certain words that have a application as the name or the leader, but also have a different application within the parts. A philosophical midwifery. If you're talking about the four aspects, then yeah, it's down here. Or you could talk about it as just the single art. Belief, the cause of all problems. Technically, the pathologos is, but also depends on what word you use, the way you're using the word. I find that interesting. And in a similar way, we can understand all human problems within the first five hypotheses. The self, its ousia and logos in wisdom, its distorted reflection in belief and materialism. Therefore, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is all we need. But we could break it down even further to include the other variations within that master set to incorporate isms, good versus bad, materialism, nihilism, Marxism, etc., etc., which might give us a greater understanding of the nature of the self and pathologos if we include the 10th, 11th, and 12th. So we're doing really good. We're doing really good. Also, we have recognized that the 9th ox herding picture might be that first hypothesis. So our question, do we have to add a missing hypothesis on top of the first? We might get an insight when we tackle the final ox herding picture, which we haven't looked at. We're holding off until the end because we need to take with us everything we learn from the text to be able to solve the greatest philosophical mystery, or add to where we are in our philosophical development as human beings. 10th, 11th, and 12th hypes. Sound fun? I'm having fun. I hope you're having fun. Everything that I talked about today is a kind of better, more summarized version of what I did yesterday when I was delirious from lack of sleep. I had a big day, and then I played music all night, and then I had to watch my streamer all night, and then I still wanted to stream because I had this idea in my head, but I was crazy. So I'm not going to post that. I'm going to unpost that from YouTube. But everything we did today covered everything we covered in a better way yesterday. So, yeah. Thanks for joining, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take it easy. As the Oracle says,
What the hell's wrong with you people? You sick freaks.
you're a sick freak. But also,
dead-eyed, and I don't.
That's insane. Like, you need Gooner bait.
Oh my goodness. All the negative ones.
It's sad. And
Jesus Christ, Emma, this is not Opie and Anthony or whatever the hell.
Okay, it's not happy anything. Let's say goodbye. Got it. Bad ending. See you next time. Bye.